I always think facing everything is so much more powerful. Even though it's a more uncomfortable and scary thing to do, it's always a more powerful thing to do when you want to try and heal or fix something, basically. Hi everybody, how are you guys doing? I hope you're all doing very well, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I wanted to talk about something I have a little bit of a scratchy, itchy feeling that we all have experienced in some way or form, and that is anxiety, how I kind of deal with it, how I get along with anxiety, and how I would say when I'm having my worst moments, I kind of handle the situation and calm down and kind of get past that. Now, disclaimer, I am in no way an expert. I am in no way a professional of any kind in this area. And if you feel you have any kind of anxiety disorder or anything like that, make sure you consult a professional and go seek some help. These are just tips on how I deal with it, my experiences with them. Before I get into the tips, I feel like I just have to describe a little bit more what it feels like to me personally when I'm anxious and when my anxiety kind of started. And I don't think I ever knew or even understood what anxiety really truly was until I started up this business, which I have Kirschalotte, which I love. I have no regrets whatsoever, but that is when I would say my life started to get really stressful in so many levels, and not only from the amount of work that we had to do to get our business started up, but also the amount of pressure that we had to keep things running and to just financially make it through the day, not only personally but also within our business. And that's also when my social life just got drastically cut down because quite honestly, I really didn't let myself go meet my friends or anything like that. And that's also when, my health was suffering the most, etc. You name it. I felt like the whole world just kind of came onto me. And that's when I started to experience something like shortness of breath and really just worrying about everything and just kind of not being able to focus anymore on anything else in life except on how I was feeling and the things that I was worrying about. A lot of what anxiety is about is just this kind of constant worriness, even though everything's actually okay. And I love that saying of like 90% or maybe even 99% of the things that we worry about is not even going to turn out like that. But obviously in life it happens, or life is life, and it is a lot of the time anxiety inducing, especially if you're stepping into kind of the adult life and where things start to get very serious, I suppose. So let's get into some of those things and tips that you can do to reduce that anxiety, or how I do that. Number one is going to be a thing that I feel like I've only recently really kind of fully embraced, and that is to fully accept and acknowledge your anxiety and all the things that you are worried about. So I don't know about you, but oftentimes when I'm feeling anxiety or I'm feeling anxious, the last thing I want to do is meditate or just sit around or like anything. I'm just kind of trying to run away from it as hard as I can, whether that be by thinking about other things. Like I'm trying to force myself to work. I'm just like watch TV or anything. I'm just like trying to get it out and just think of something different. And that's kind of my way of dealing with anxiety, or it used to be. And over time I've come to realize that one thing that really helps and quite fast with me is if I'm having a very tough sensation of anxiety or stress, I sit down, whether that be on the couch or even on the computer chair, wherever I am at that point, I sit down, I take 3 deep breaths, and I kind of tell myself, okay, you're feeling anxious, you're worried, and maybe I tell what I'm worried about. And then I kind of say, it's okay. And I breathe it through, and I sit there maybe for 5-10 minutes, breathing it through and just kind of saying and telling myself, it's okay that you're feeling this, and it's okay that you're worried. And maybe I even try to tell myself, don't worry, like there's nothing to worry about. Everything's going to be all right. And you know, I accept that you're feeling this and I understand why. And just kind of calming myself down with that, with a little bit of breathing and just accepting and fully acknowledging that kind of sensation of anxiety and or any worries that I might be having. And honestly, guys, this is the number one tip I can give you to you. That is game changing for me when it comes to dealing with my anxiety, is to just embrace it and kind of accept it and acknowledge it rather than just trying to run away from it. That's always my number one first step, and I'm already much calmer because I'm not trying to run away from nothing, which in my opinion ultimately just kind of brings more anxiety to me. The second thing that I will often do kind of in combination with that, as I already said about the breathing, is I will do a meditation session. Now, if you've never tried meditation before, I'm sure there's so many videos on YouTube which you can go check out, and there are some great apps for beginners as well. Obviously, you know, meditation is very hard, and I would say especially hard when you are feeling anxious. That's why you should also practice meditation not when you're feeling anxious, so that it kind of is easier and gets easier that way, and that way you can maybe better use it as a tool for also when you are feeling anxiety. But when I'm feeling very anxious, what helps for me is to actually do a longer session of meditation. And for me, that usually means anywhere between 20 to 40 minutes of a meditation session. And that really just calms me down and really kind of centers me and brings me back to the moment that we are in now, which is the only moment we have, which is the only moment we should be thinking about. And that really does help me very quick as well. And practicing meditation consistently on an everyday basis, not only when you're feeling anxiety, can obviously in the long run also reduce your anxiety sensations as well. I do also think that you have to really focus on what is it that's making you anxious, what are you actually worried about, and in this case, something like journaling might help so that you can really write things down. No judgment, nothing, just write it down, say it in your head, have a discussion with yourself. But really, you have to acknowledge it. You have to say, hello, anxiety, hello, thing you're worried about, and, you know, talk to it and not run away from it. So those are the two things that I really feel like always immediately help me when it comes to anxiety, and they immediately make me feel more calm, more centered. And another thing that I really love to do, which again in the long run really helps with my anxiety, is exercise. Exercise is so important for me for a gazillion reasons, but also for my anxiety. Exercise is just something, when I start to do it, like for example, if I go for a run, it's just like it makes me breathe in a way where I'm not focusing on it anymore. Because when I feel anxiety, I'm feeling like I can't breathe because I have to focus on it. And in the end of the day, I think that's not even the case, but it just feels like that, and that's why it feels so heavy. So then I would just go for a run, and running, I just breathe. It's just such a natural thing for me to breathe and focus on my run and just get like good fresh air into my lungs and just get my blood circulation flowing again, and just really, it's just so healing for me. A run, for example, I've been loving running lately during this quarantine time, especially since the gyms are closed, but it's something so good for me. And again, if I'm feeling like especially anxious, I will just put on my running shoes and go for a run, and it usually has an immediate good effect on me. And then I might still also sit down, like talk to my anxiety, accept it, and also meditate a little bit, and that like whole thing together is always like honestly the best thing. And again, for me, this is just a long-term thing, which in the end of the day, if I do it consistently, which I do, I exercise 4 to 5 times a week in a normal week, and that for me is really key to also reducing my anxiety in general. I always feel like if I miss a couple of days of exercise in a week, I obviously don't stress about it too much, but I do feel completely different if I do. The next thing that again I think is really hard, because oftentimes when we're anxious or we feel anxiety, or if you're anything like me, it comes on a time where you're just so busy, you're just so overwhelmed with a gazillion things that you're thinking about, need to do, get done, want to please people. I don't know, like you just feel like you have so many things on your mind and you just can't deal, and you get overwhelmed. And that can be just like a social pressure, that can be the pressure you have in your job, that can be anything, like you can have appearance pressure, anything. Like you might have so many things in your mind and you're just getting kind of overwhelmed with it all, and then it can induce or make you really anxious as well. And especially if you know, you're someone who works a lot, like this is what I would say is the main cause for causing mine anxiety, is the fact that I work so much and I put so much pressure onto it, sometimes way more than is actually needed, and it's just sometimes goes a bit too far, I would say. It might sound obvious, but what I never do is just say, okay, step back and now take some time off, like take the next day off, or on the weekend commit to actually having one full day off of not doing that, not focusing on that, and just fully giving yourself a day of relaxation and doing things that you love and have fun doing, and that don't give you this pressure that for whatever reason you were feeling when you were doing all of those tasks all at once. And that obviously is really important. Take some time off, and if you have a really stress-inducing job or anything like that, I know this is not always easy, but if it's in any way possible, just try to take like even an evening off and just, you know, take a bath, self-pamper, anything like that. And the last thing on my list, which really helps me, is to start pampering myself. And that can, again, mean so many things, but most of the times I would say it means some kind of skincare or putting on my makeup or something like that. I would say even more often it's some sort of skincare or going to the shower, having a bath or something like that. And just really taking good care of myself and my skin, like putting on a mask, having a glass of wine. Like, you know, wine can also be bad for some people who experience anxiety, so obviously be careful there, but just something really relaxing and something that really, you know, focuses on self-love and self-care, and that obviously always helps me. This is more of a nice and fun thing to do. I wouldn't say that if I just have an anxiety kind of attack that, okay, go have some self-pampering and then I'm healed. Absolutely not. But I think self-love and just self-care is so important, again, in the long run. If you do it consistently, it's going to help for your anxiety in general as well, and it's just something that I absolutely love doing, you know. And I think as an extra, I do have to mention, just like find something that you really love doing, like whether that be painting or writing, or maybe, I don't know, maybe like photography, or maybe you love playing the piano, or anything that you don't really give yourself time to do, but you really love it. That probably is going to be something that relaxes you and soothes you. So give yourself that time to do that. So for me, it's going to be pampering and skincare or something like that. And for you, it might be reading a book or playing the piano or anything else. Really something that is good for you and your soul. Do it. Those were the things that I do that help me with my anxiety. There are plenty of other things that might help with anxiety. I think I mentioned it already, like journaling is really good. I do journal every now and then as well. I always think facing everything is so much more powerful. Even though it's a more uncomfortable and scary thing to do, it's always a more powerful thing to do when you want to try and heal or fix something, basically. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would love to know any kinds of things that you do to reduce anxiety or stress, and what you do to pamper yourself or anything like that. Give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to my channel for more videos, and I'm super excited to see you guys in my next video. Until then, you guys, bye bye.